Hey everyone, I have Benoit Goossens. I hope I say your name correctly. It's been really difficult for me to say. So I'm so grateful for he has said yes to this and this amazing organization. And I give the words to him. So just share a little bit what is this organization. And
hello,
welcome Benoit. So welcome, sorry, welcome.
Hello Tanya, thanks for inviting me for this event.
You're welcome.
So the name of my organization is Danau Girang Field Centre. It's located, it's a small research center located on the shores of the Kinabatangan River on the east coast of Sabah in Malaysian Borneo. And it's a small research center that I set up back in 2007 with the Sabah Wildlife Department and Cardiff University in Wales. So I'm also a professor at Cardiff University.
Amazing.
And this small research center is focusing on looking at wildlife responses to habitat degradation and fragmentation, because the protected area where we are located, the lower Kinabatangan Wildlife Sanctuary, is surrounded by old palm plantations. So wildlife is under strong pressure from human disturbance. And so we are looking at how wildlife is responding to that pressure and how we can improve the landscape for the conservation of all the species that live in that ecosystem.
What is the three biggest threats you're facing in your organization?
Yeah, I mean, so because we are looking at so we are studying wildlife in the tropics, and so it's mostly the biggest threats that actually wildlife is facing, not my organization. So the biggest threat that wildlife is facing in Borneo and in Sabah is forest fragmentation and degradation, lack of connectivity, basically, and then poaching and wildlife trafficking. So hunting for subsistence, and trafficking, for ivory trade or for pet trade, etc. So those are the biggest threats that the wildlife is facing.
That is also some big threat your wildlife is facing. But what about your work? Like, where is the animals coming in? Like, where do you get all the animals you're working with?
Well, so our field center is located in a protected area called the Lower Kinabatangan Wildlife Sanctuary, and it's on the east coast of Sabah, and it's in the Kinabatangan floodplain, the biggest floodplain in Sabah. And because it's a lowland, 70–75% of the land on the east coast has been transformed into old palm plantations. So what is left along the Kinabatangan River is forest fragments of different sizes that link the mangroves on the east coast to the center of Sabah and the central forest in Sabah. So the Kinabatangan Wildlife Sanctuary is one of the last, is a corridor of forest linking to a big chunk of forest. And so all the wildlife has been pushed as the land was cleared for logging and then for old palm plantations. All the wildlife has been pushed on the shores of the Kinabatangan. So you find a huge diversity along the river in the forest, and you find species like elephant, proboscis monkey, orangutan, clouded leopard, sun bear, estuarine crocodile, monitor lizards. So we have 10 different species of primates, 8 different species of hornbills. There are about 350 species of birds. So it's extremely rich in biodiversity, and it's a very special lab for us to study wildlife and see how wildlife is coping with such an environment and such pressure. And then the idea is to come up with then recommendations to the government, wildlife managers, on how best manage this place. How wide should the corridors be? How much forest should we replant and restore? What space is needed by different species, etc.
Thank you. How do you deal with that kind of threat you're facing in wildlife?
Well, there are different ways. I mean, first is to study, is to know what are the consequences, how do they deal with this pressure and with this kind of landscape, and then it's good to come up with some solutions. So one of the solutions is to reestablish connectivity and to enhance the forest. And so a lot of the forest along the Kinabatangan is trashed forest. It's been heavily logged for years, and so it needs a bit some help to to grow and to get back to some sort of decent forest. So we have to go into forest restoration. So, and that's what we started. I mean, some organizations have been doing that for 20 years in the Kinabatangan, but recently Danau Girang Field Centre entered in a project called Regrow Borneo, where the idea is to raise funds for forest restoration, mostly with because I'm a staff at Cardiff University, I proposed a project for Cardiff University so that Cardiff University staff and students could offset their carbon emissions when they, for example, they're flying for a conference or for work. We give them the opportunity to offset their carbon emissions, and then the money that we raise go into the local community to replant and restore the forest. So we started a couple of years ago, raised funds, and then last year we started planting, and it's been quite successful so far. Yeah, we have a Just Giving page where people can donate, and then we plant. But also what we do, we not only plant, but we also monitor the land that we restore, and we carry out some scientific research where we measure the trees, we estimate the carbon sequestration, and we also monitor the wildlife in those restoration plots. So we set up botanic plots, and then in those plots we measure the trees, we measure the carbon, and also we set up camera traps. We do surveys for frogs, for small mammals, for invertebrates. So we look at how wildlife is going back to those areas. So it's a long-term project.
I know sometimes some people say, how can you work with it when you're facing so many threats, like what is happening out in nature? Some people get very sad about to see it, and they think your work you're doing as other organizations is amazing, you could be in it. So how can you turn that kind of threat around to be so positive and just keep going?
Well, I mean, I think, I mean, we set up a goal, and our goal is to make this place better for wildlife, but also for the people. It's a very important place for people. It's a floodplain. It gives water to millions of people. It gives also natural resources like fish. For example, we have a community of fishermen and fishermen along the river, and so yeah, we need to set up a goal, and then yes, it's tough. It's hard to achieve the goals, and there's a lot of issues and problems that we face. But the results are encouraging. When, like last week, for example, I was in the forest with the local community, and they just finished planting a 1 hectare plot.
Oh wow!
Seeing the trees planted, and then seeing the plot next door which was 6 months old, and already the saplings, being like 50 centimeter up to 1 meter high, gives you hope. You are making a difference. You're making this place better, and you're also making a better world, providing oxygen to people. I know it's a small scale, but if we all do our bit, and we have hundreds and hundreds of projects like that, and we replant and we restore forest all around the world, I mean, I think we can reach something, and we can, hopefully we can save our species by saving.
That's amazing. How many times do you do that, go into the forest and plant so big areas of trees? That's like a huge area of trees you plant.
I mean, it's not huge. I mean, the idea is, we can actually restore a lot. I mean, we have a lot of degraded forest that we can replant. So we have worked for years and years and years, and it's hard work. You work under the sun. It's extremely hard, and I'm not doing it actually. I mean, I'm going there for. I plant some trees so I know what it is. But I tell you, it's extremely hard work, and the good thing is that by doing this, we provide also subsistence and income for the local community, and that's great. That's improving their lifestyle, and
exactly.
But
who is the people that is going out in the forest? Because when I was in Borneo, at like the jungle is can be a very dangerous place to go in if you don't know like where to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's yes, it can be dangerous, but Hola Field Centre has been there for now more than 13 years, and we never had any major
accidents.
It happens. I mean, yes, there are crocodiles in the river. There are dangerous snakes around as well, but usually they avoid you. Leeches, but leeches don't do much. They just bite you. You get a bit of blood, and
it's so annoying.
I mean, people who I think you get this idea from documentaries and all these presenters want to make it a bit more dangerous, and so that people, oh my God.
So it's a little bit exciting.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, yes, you need to be careful. You need to be humble, extremely humble. But in a way, what is most dangerous in the forest, you know what it is? It's falling branches.
Oh yeah, okay, true.
So it's not crocodiles, it's not snakes, it's not elephants, not spiders. It's falling branches. That's what kills people in the forest. So I think we it's and also, I mean, yes, you feel like Borneo is a huge forest, and yes, there are some huge areas with forest. Where we work in the Kinabatangan, it's very tiny strips of forest between plantations and the river. So it's difficult really to get lost. You can get lost. I've got lost there. I got lost a couple of times, but it's not what usually people think. And so yeah, but that this is the life we have chosen, and then
Exactly.
yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing you're a fighter hero for the animals and for the nature, and stand in the line and show the way for us others.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's my job. It's what I've chosen to do when since I was a kid, and I wanted to work on wildlife and on animals, and it's a choice I made. Initially I didn't really want to save I didn't want to save the world, and I don't think I'm saving the world. I think what I'm doing is doing my small bit somewhere, and trying to place a bit better. And overall, I mean, if we all do a bit of our part, then we will definitely do a bit, create a better world for all of us. Yeah, that's about it. And if people can be I think everybody can do his part. You know, his place, in his house, in his garden, and with his lifestyle, we can all do our bit. So
exactly, we all have a responsibility to take the small step in the choice, like in the change, to make the big one. So if we all take a small piece, we can make a big, huge difference if we all take it. So what specific tool are you using to get successful, to really make a difference in the wildlife?
Okay, well, I we don't use, I mean, for our research we use a lot of different tools to study wildlife. So we have specialized in the use of satellite telemetry, and so we use radio collars to tag wild species, different animals, to follow their movements in the forest. So that's the kind of technology we use. We use camera traps as well. We use drones to, but the tools that are used to protect wildlife and it's basically boots on the ground. So I talked to you about one of the major threats, and which is poaching. And for that, the only tool that you're gonna have is having people on the ground committed to save wildlife, and to go every day, and you walk or drive in the wilderness, and be there if there is any poaching going on, and arrest the poachers. And then you have the wildlife department, who is prosecuting those poachers and sending them to jail if they deserve it. So that's one of the tools, is boots on the ground. And that's Sabah now has started putting more people on the ground. We have Danau Girang Field Centre has helped with that, raising funds and supporting both Sabah Wildlife Department and Sabah Forestry Department in getting more boots on the ground, and more. So, for example, we are helping to set up an intelligence unit at the Sabah Wildlife Department, to gather information about wildlife poaching and trafficking and things like that. So, and for that we received funding support from the U.S. State Department. The Department of the State, the U.S. State Department, whatever. So the U.S. government. It's easier. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I know the feeling to have a little bit difficult with the words.
Right. Okay. So yeah, basically the U.S. government is supporting that, and so, and we're also setting up a forensic unit at the Sabah Wildlife Department. So where we can identify, like if we receive some meat, for example, that has been seized by the anti-poaching unit, we can identify the species and say, for example, that it's pangolin, or it's clouded leopard, or it's a deer, or it's and then prosecute the poaching.
How can you know what meat it is if it's not like you can see the animal, you just see a piece of meat? How do you know what animal it is from?
So you use DNA. doing CSI, basically. You watch CSI on the TV. So this is what you're doing. So you bring the meat to the lab, you extract the DNA, sequence it, and then you compare sequences from what you have sequenced to existing species. Then it can match. It will match certain species. So if it's a deer, you will see that you will identify that it's the deer meat, etc. So yeah, that's the way. It's the same thing. It's when you do crime scene investigation and you get a hair, for example, or a people hair, and then you identify, you get the DNA, match it to people in the database. So that's the same thing.
Perfect. Thank you.
So those are the tools there that we use, and those tools are, I mean, can be expensive, and it requires a lot of funding. You can get it from the local government, which is great when it happens, but sometimes you have to get it from somewhere else, from overseas, or and in this case we get a lot of support from the US government.
It's good. It's good there is some big organizations and the government that is supporting you, because the job you're doing is so important. Also to the air we are breathing is coming down there, like from the jungle. Jungle is doing a huge job for us. We can live, like also medicine and so many things coming from the jungle, so we can live like have a life on Earth.
Yeah. Well, diseases are coming also from the jungle.
Yeah.
So if we keep away from the jungle and stop degrading it and stop getting closer and closer to the jungle and to wildlife, then we also will limit disease outbreaks like the one that we are facing at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't know whether people got the lesson, but I hope that people will start thinking, because what's happening is because of what we are doing to the environment.
Oh my God.
Absolutely, 100%. So
yeah, I also on that boat. I also believe that. Like, I also hope so much people get awakening, like, okay, about people's lifestyles, because it's our lifestyles that have made the coronavirus. I believe that we are the fault about the virus on Earth.
Yeah, I don't think that the people or even our other government got it.
No.
Still here, people, projects of highways going through forest reserves and things like that. I don't think we got it.
No. So no, not at all. When I talk with my friends, they don't like this. Just back to the daily lifestyle. It's like, what lesson have you learned from this? Like, this is a big issue on Earth. Like, do you know where it's coming from or why we get it on Earth? It's like, it's just a new virus. Oh, okay. So as you said, I hope for really they get, like, also between this interview with you and the other in this summit, really get to see, like, we need to take a stand, like the small step in our life choice to really make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is, out of the knowledge you have learned and you work with, how can people make the change in the lifestyle? Like, what can people do out from your knowledge you know, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, there are many things that we can do, and I think I briefly mentioned that also earlier, that we can all do our we can all have an impact on, and I think we just need to change a bit our lifestyle. We really need to think of changing our lifestyle, and one thing would be to think about how we travel, for example. That's the big thing. It's, if we can, and we have learned it now with this pandemic. We have seen a change in the carbon emissions in the atmosphere since planes stopped flying. So it has an impact if you stop, if you start rethinking the way you travel. So instead of traveling for a conference. Well, now we know that we can do online conferences. It's possible. It doesn't cost anything because, you know, you don't produce, I mean, you don't have to fly to an area. You don't have these hotels, you know, with air conditioning and things like that. And then you don't spend a lot of food, you know, during this conference. You have always a lot of food produced. There's a lot of waste.
Oh my God,
and,
yeah.
you know, or, you know, using plastic bottle for water in those conferences. I've seen that. And so I think, yeah, rethink the way we travel. And if you can go to fly, do it. If you can take the train instead of a plane, yes, it's a bit longer, but you will improve. You know, I mean, you will reduce your carbon emissions. Change the way you consume. Check the products. Check what you're buying. Buy less also. I mean, consume less now, because we consume so much. We buy so much stuff. We, you know, when we have a little problem with one of our utensils, we just throw it in the rubbish and buy a new one. Well, check, maybe you can repair it. You know.
So true. What I inspire my network is like, buy things to your fridge and eat everything up before you buy new things. Because in the past, to be honest, in the past few years, I have been so bad to, like, I buy things and most of the things get bad. I'm just throwing out, and that is just like, it's not serving my pocket for the first of all with monies, and it's not serving the environment. Plus, people have worked so hard so I can get these foods, and I'm blessed to have food on the table. First of all, also when some people out there really fighting to get food. So what I'm inspiring people to do is like, only buy things you will eat up, like everything, before you buy your new things, and buy less. And maybe to go like in a container. I do in container and take the food up, because all the food waste, there is so much, like, that is not, it's still good to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing. I think you know, travel more responsibly. Try to fly less. If you really can't, and if you really can't afford to fly, okay, because I understand. I mean, you know, sometimes you need to fly for work, etc. Well, offset your emissions. Offset carbon emissions of your flight, and you can donate to, for example, a forest restoration project like ours, like We Grow Borneo, or anyone else. I mean, you know, there are so many projects that are, you know, restoring the forest and growing trees, and you know. Second thing is, you know, you can become more like a green consumer, and you can check, as I say, the products you buy when you shop. You should consider, you know, products that have the least impact on the environment. A third thing would be to say no to single-use plastic. You know, plastic pollution is massive. You have huge areas of plastic floating on the ocean. So, you know, instead of using a plastic straw, use your lips. Why do we need a plastic straw to drink from a glass? You know, we lost the use of our lips, so use your lips. Use reusable straws, for example. You can also use reusable bags instead of using plastic bags. Take your own bags, and then use them. Stop drinking water in plastic bottles. Instead, you use your own stainless steel or glass water bottle. And also, I think one big thing that I've seen in supermarket is it's all these items that are wrapped in paper, in plastic or in cellophane. So try to find items that are wrapped in paperboard or cardboard rather than plastic, and don't buy vegetables or fruits that are wrapped into plastics. Those things you can do that. It's not difficult. It doesn't cost money, and you can do that. And if everybody does that, we can make a huge difference.
Yeah, this is a small step. Like, think about when you go, like you say, think about to take the fruits and the vegetables with no plastic. This is just a small step. There's for me, it's just easy peasy. It's just like a small step and we make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I could think also about, you know, the way we eat. We should eat more sustainably. So we should try to move away from a meat dominated diet and move towards a more plant-based diet. Because, I mean, as you know, the meat production has a huge impact on the environment. Look at what happens in Brazil, for example, in the Amazon. So one of the causes of forest loss is the expansion of agricultural land for animal feed production. You know, such as soy. So there's lots of soy produced to feed the animals. So I think that's one thing, and then maybe another one would be to reduce your waste. You know, as I said, think twice before you buy something. Buy something that you really need, and then recycle the plastic, the paper, the tins that you have, and then compost. If you compost your waste, and we do that. We do that at home. We try, and it's not easy because Malaysia is not really into recycling. They are starting now slowly.
Oh, that's good.
But recycling is not a big thing here, and especially recycling food and creating your own compost doesn't happen much here.
Why?
It's not in the culture. It's not in, people don't think about it. There's not much noise made about it. We don't, I mean, in Europe, for example, I remember you have, special bins, different colors to collect, to collect the waste. We don't have that here. On the other hand, I learned, that some countries, like in Europe or US, send their waste to Malaysia, for example, to discard it somewhere on the. So, we are basically consuming far too much, and I think we need to really be careful with that.
Exactly.
I think something I learned with the pandemic is that you can actually live with less stuff. Not being able, during these lockdowns, not being able to go and shop and to go and buy stuff and to be in a commercial center and buy. Actually, I didn't really miss it. I'm not a big buyer anyway. I don't buy clothes and things like that every year. I only buy some clothes for my son because he's growing. There's no choice. But then what we do? But then we give the clothes. We give his clothes, his smaller clothes. We give them to charity, or we give them to orphanage, or we try to give to other people. Second hand, buy second hand. Why not? Yeah. It's and I think if we do those things, but we all need to do it. If it's just a few people, it's not going to work. We all need. We all need.
We need all to take a step. We need to take a bigger step.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I also believe when you're on close, us in women's, like, I also feel there's something about, as we had talked about before this interview, is about like, why do people need all that kind of clothes? Because if you see how little clothes I have as a woman, my mom would look at me as like, girl, like you need clothes. Like I have enough. I have the clothes I need. I don't need like to get a new dress to feel pretty. And if I need to, I go out to buy someone in a store where this has been used before because it has been made. And why can I not take that kind of clothes on? And also because I also think about, I also feel there's something about how we feel about ourselves, because a lot of women need clothes to feel pretty. And I also believe before we really can make a big change is when we choose to work also on ourselves, because why do we need all that clothes? This is just a quick fix you get on a new dress. 5 days after, you don't feel it's new and you're back to the same feelings as you were before the dress. Like, we need to work also in ourselves to be okay with there's a hole in our clothes, or we go in a store that has been used before.
And that's in the Western world, you know, because here people don't have the money to buy so many clothes. So it's all a Western thing, and we are also surrounded by, you know, social media adverts to you know, trying to push you to buy and buy and buy. You know, it's the society of consumption. That's it. I mean, that's where we are, and we are pushed to buy, and you need to be extremely strong to you know, to avoid that, to avoid buying, and that's it. It's yeah. So I don't know how it's gonna get better, honestly.
I think it's so important, as you also do. You never give up. This is my feeling, my experience of you. You not give me up. Also, still sometimes it can be challenging in your work, what you see in life, how people is going, what you take a choice in lifestyle. I believe it can sometimes be very challenging, and you never give up. And that is so inspired and big motivation for me, and I also know for others, because we need to stand in line and show the way and still stand there and inspire the people to take the small steps.
Yeah, no, sure, but yeah, but I can see what's going on the ground, and I don't see people changing. I mean, I can see people changing. Some people are changing. There are more people aware. I can see governments changing. Governments don't change. When you have some people like, and I mean, and the problem is that governments, you can have, you know, for big nations like the US, for example, you can have a good government who is thinking about environment, and then 5 years later you get a new one, and you get a total idiot who, you know, doesn't think that environment is a good thing, and then that's it, back to school. And so that's the problem. And I think I think this is it. I mean, I don't know, we need to change we really need to change the way we think and we live.
Yeah, I really believe this is us as the public. I think it's called public, the English word, that is really can take the stand to move the government in other directions. If we as a human, you and me, take the steps, and we can move the government on the right direction, but we need to take a bigger step in our lifestyles.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully.
Yeah. So where in the work you're doing in wildlife, where can you see the change that's happening, like the small changing? So where is it changing?
Well, the changes are, I mean, what we do is we try to work with all the stakeholders. If you work on your own, just, you know, collect your information, collect your data, and then just do your work on your own, and, you know, and publish your results, and then that's it. You won't make a difference. So what you need to do is to communicate with the public, but also communicate mostly with the governments, with the industry as well. So we work a lot with the local governments, with wildlife department, forestry department, with the state government, with, you know, we're trying to advise the government with development projects like building a road. We're trying to tell them, you know, please don't go through forest reserves. If you can go around, try to provide alternatives.
Yeah. Where in your work can you see there's a happening change? Like, is the forest getting bigger, or the animals populations gets bigger, or where can you see the hope is changing? Like, where can you see the hope in your work? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I can talk about Sabah. I think there has been I mean, the government has realized that they need to, they need to look after their natural resources, and they have decided, for example, to protect a minimum of 30% of forest. So 30% of the land cover will stay under forest. And actually in Sabah, we have about 55% right now under any kind of forest. But what they want to do is achieve 30% of totally protected forest, which is big. It's actually very big.
Oh yeah.
The IUCN recommendation, I think, is 10 or 11%. So it's 3 times what IUCN is recommending.
Oh, that is amazing.
It's very good, but then you need also to manage those forests and keep them connected, because you can get small patches of forest everywhere, making 30% of the land, but then all the species are disconnected, all the populations are disconnected, and then they can die in their small fragments, and that's it. So you need to manage also your landscape and keep connectivity, create corridors between your protected areas.
Of course. Yeah.
So what you need to do is to avoid increasing fragmentation. That's one big thing. So we are trying to advise on that, and Sabah is not doing too bad about it.
Oh, that is good, because Sabah is one of the biggest jungle in Borneo, right?
It's one of the. I mean, we have in the state, as I said, about 50% of forest still left. Not necessarily pristine jungles. I mean, we don't really have much pristine jungles or primary forests left. And in Sabah, there's not many places. There's about protected areas that are still have pristine forests. So that's more or less gone. I mean, and it's almost everywhere, but as long as you keep forest and in good shape, and you manage it properly, you can keep the wildlife. Wildlife is very resilient, and you can, as long as you manage it properly, you don't hunt also, or you manage hunting, then you can have some very satisfying results. And the thing also that we need to realize is that for a state like Sabah, the natural resources are the first or second source of income for the state because of tourism. So when tourism will restart, it's going to bring income, and at the moment Sabah is suffering a lot because of the absence of tourism, and people not coming to Sabah to see the wildlife and their beautiful nature, and the state is suffering economically. So that's the thing. I mean, nature brings you also income to your economy. I mean, it's very important, and it's the only sustainable one, because you can palm oil plantations, for example. It's a single crop. One day you can get a disease into your palms, and then that's it. The whole die, and then you don't have anything. But forest and wildlife, it's the only thing that can be sustainable, and as long as it's there, people will come and see it, and come and visit, and that's what you need to maintain. It's like in our countries, in the Western countries, when you maintain your monuments. Why people are going to Paris or to Amsterdam or to Italy or to Rome, and it's to visit monuments, it's to visit sites, and if you maintain them, then you will get the tourists. If you start destroying them, what people won't have any reason to go and visit those cities, and so then we don't have monuments in Sabah.
Sorry?
We don't have monuments in Sabah. We don't have that. We don't have, it's not the same history that we have. So like 100 years ago, people were still living in the forest. So we don't have all these big monuments, but what we have is the forest, and what people want to see now is forest, and that's why they move and they you know, they come and visit.
Yeah, the boat trip through like the lake to see all the jungle to the sides. I know there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that point also, it's also so important to know a little bit more deeper, how can you be a responsible tourist, like what to think about, like the straw, the plastic boxes, like plastic bottles, like also be very aware about like what are you buying when you're out as a tourist, and like eat locally so you can support locally. There are also so many things to really be aware about to be a responsible tourist when you're out and traveling, if you really want to take the airplane.
Yes, they are. Yeah, you say them, so.
Yeah, there are also so many others.
Yeah, no, I can't think of any right now. I mean, yes, for example, if you're a diver and you know, and you go to dive, you know, on coral reefs, and you know, don't step on the corals, and
no, I don't take something up and touch.
Don't collect stuff.
Yeah.
You know, take pictures and don't collect anything. A lot of people do that. They collect orchids, they collect insects, butterflies, and you know, don't do that. Just leave it. It's much better when it's alive and it's there, rather than on your shelf, you know, in your house.
Take memories with you with a mobile or a camera, and just leave it where it is. Yeah. Because this is us that is a tourist in other people's land, like Indonesia. We are not in our own backyard. We are on land of the animals' homes.
Yeah, and you wouldn't do that anyway in your own country as well. I mean, you don't go. I mean, you shouldn't do it. I mean, some people do it, but
of course.
So that's it. And anything that is in the forest is useful, you know, for other species and for, you know. So just leave it there.
That's it. Exactly. The last thing you would like the audience to know, Benoit, what will that be? How can people support your organization?
There are many ways. I mean, I think one way would be to well, you know, check what we're doing. You know, check our website, go and see what we are doing, and spread the word. The second thing would be, I mean, if anyone is interested, we take volunteers, we take people with an interest in conservation, in wildlife. We accept volunteers to come and work with us and in the forest and do some you know, valuable work.
Like in the video, what people can do in the video is all volunteers do that.
Yeah, we take individuals, and you know, they can stay for a month, 2 months, 3 months with us, and you know, learn about what we are doing, and you know, and if you want to participate in our Regrow Borneo project and do some forest restoration, you know, you're more than welcome. But you can also donate. You can check, and I think the one thing that people could do if they travel and they can't avoid traveling by plane, well then, you know, offset your carbon emissions and have a look at our Regrow Borneo Just Giving page and offset your carbon emissions. And then, no, try to keep yourself aware of what's happening in terms of our environment. You know, climate change is not you know, is not a story that scientists are coming with. It's happening. It's definitely happening, and it's quite scary, to be honest. The consequences will be terrible. You know, with the rise of water, for example, just imagine all the coastal populations that live in Europe, but all over the world. Just imagine what's going to happen. Think about Holland. Think about all places. So there will be massive move of populations that will create massive conflicts between people. And we see that already. you know, when we're in places where, you know, it's getting drier, that populations cannot produce their food, they move somewhere else. And when you migrate to a place where there are already people, then you get conflicts. The same thing with wildlife, you know, a species, an animal, it has its territory. If another animal comes into its territory, they fight. Well, we do the same. We do exactly the same. So you're going to have massive conflicts. At the moment, the pandemic that we are fighting, we're fighting a virus, okay? So we are trying to, you know, to cope with that. I think when we're going to fight the consequences of climate change, we're going to fight each other. Just think about it. And I tell you, it is going to happen, and sooner than later. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if, you know, if people will really change.
No.
Possible, and if we can, because I mean, we are getting to a point where you can do more or less whatever you want. It's you know, and the big problem also is that us, I mean myself, yes, I see it happening, but also I'm aware because I read a lot and because I'm a scientist and I'm interested in wildlife conservation, in you know, in nature. So, you know, but the people who are not really, and they live in a city and they don't really realize it, and then their life goes on and they will die of normal thing. What I'm worried about is the next generations. It's the generation of my son. It's my grandson and granddaughter. They're gonna live through hell. Honestly.
Yeah, I also believe that, like, oh my God.
And you already see it happening. You already see it happening. All these the climatic issues that we've got, you know, the tsunamis and you know, you can see it. You can see it happening already.
Yeah, it is already happening, and all the information and facts is just booming on the internet. Like,
but they are not, I mean, they are not. Those people are not complotting. They are not. It's not conspiracy theory. No. It is the reality. It's happening. Read about what's happening. You know, read from good scientists. They are doing a tremendous job, and they are not trying to scare people. They are just saying the truth. What's happening, and there are predictions and models that are done, and you can believe them because those models are. It's really what's going to happen. You know. And I can't tell you when. I can't. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not going to tell you, you know, the end of the world is in 2025. No. But the end of this world, or at least, you know, is coming soon. You know, we are destroying this world little by little, and we are going towards massive conflicts.
It's so true. It's so true. And thank you so much for sharing about your organization, what you're doing, and share your point of view and what you're seeing, because you are living in it. You know what you're talking about compared to me. I'm not living in it right now. I'm just in the city, if I can call that. So you facing it every day. And thank you so much.
Back. This is actually our research center seen from the sky.
It's so beautiful. There's a lot of green and trees that is close together.
Yeah.
And to you that is watching this interview, if you go back to your email, there is a worksheet of Benoit's action steps. So please, we really hope you to write some notes on it and put some action on it. And you're welcome to contact us if you would like some actions to put some commitment on it. When we put it down, some notes, we need to put a commitment on it before we can make the change. So please, go back, write some notes, choose one of the action steps and make it to your own in your life and put it on a commitment. This is the small step that's counting. So please, we hope so much you choose to put some commitment on it. and take the step when you're out to buy a grocery, next time you buy clothes, when you do some actions, please make a change there. You are the change, and we believe in you, so please choose it. And thank you so much, Benoit, for being an amazing person. And thank you so much for the amazing job you're doing. And without you, it will just be gone. So thank you so much for standing the line, for being inspiration for me, and also believe for others on this interview. So thank you so much. It's been a blessing.
No problem. Thank you. Take care.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.